Motorhead Garage, the program that each week introduces you to and shows you how to install the latest in exciting and innovative products for your vehicle. Now here's your host, Dave Dobson.
Here at Motorhead Garage, presented by Dragonfire Tools, we love old trucks. We love this 1963 Chevrolet pickup truck. It comes to us courtesy of RS Restorations. And Zach, you guys do builds like this, complete builds. You're also a customization shop and a repair shop. But your passion is solving problems. It's something you really love to dig into. And this truck is obviously riding on airbags, so you can raise and lower it depending on how you want the look.
Right.
What's one of the problems people run into when they're running with airbags?
Sure. So a lot of times, because these trucks, to get this low stance, you have to put airbags on it, which is an air ride suspension, which has air lines running all up and down the frame. So one of the things that can happen is either an airbag could just blow from manufacturer defect or something like that. The second thing is maybe something off the road comes up and hits an airline and you lose air. And it could in one corner or all four corners at worst case.
Yeah, and then when that happens, suspension pieces actually might be hitting the ground. You could be stranded right there.
Correct. This truck right here is sitting on the ground. The lower control arms in the front are actually touching the floor.
So one, you're stuck. Two, it's hard to get a jack underneath.
Correct.
And so you're not coming home. So how did you solve the problem at RS Restorations?
Yeah, so I was working on a friend's truck. He just kept saying, I don't want to be stranded. So I came up with a very simple bracket and bump stop that mounts to the original cross member. So you can put this on, and if something does happen where you lose an airline or air in any corner on the front, then this will catch and keep the suspension off the ground.
It's called the AirSafe Kit, and here's how it mounts. There's a couple of bolts right here that go into the original cross member, and it's as simple as that. Use the cotter pin to take it to move it in and out, and this is for the stock suspension. If we flip this around here, we can see another application. If you're running tubular A-arms, then it kind of works the same way, except it's just mounted on the side here. Again, two bolts to fasten it to the cross member, and you're running basically the same system. And you see here, this is actually a longer bump stop than on the other side, and that's just to demonstrate. This is, I think, 1 inch longer, you said?
1 inch longer.
Yeah, why would you want to be running that instead of the shorter one?
Sure, so a couple of different features of this kit is, number one, the short bump stops can be driven with the truck. So if you're going on a long trip, say you're on a power tour or something like that, and you want to have that fail-safe in the back of your mind, you throw in those shorter bump stops and you can drive with them in. Then if something happens, you don't have to deal with, having something on the ground and ripping something out from underneath or whatever. Yeah. So the difference with the long ones is, some guys back in the day when they'd have a problem like that, if they could get a jack underneath it, they'd jack it up and put a 4x4 piece of wood in there and limp it home. So what this one is, it's a little bit longer. You can keep it under the seat or in the glove compartment, and then if you're able to get a jack up, instead of using the 4x4, just throw this in and then limp the truck to a safer spot and make repairs.
The AirSafe Kit is a simple solution to a really big problem.
Yeah.
You also love solving problems with exhaust. What can be tricky about that? And you've done the exhaust on this truck as well.
Yeah, I did. So, exhaust is tricky to begin with, but with an air ride vehicle especially, when the components move up and down so much, you have to really get the exhaust in the right location. So it's really tough with these to make sure that you can get it out the back. And actually on this truck it's not, because we couldn't figure it out with where the battery tray is and all that stuff. But one thing I love about exhaust is just that it's creative. You have to figure out how to get it out to where it's not going to sound bad and have gases.
You also did the engine in this, and that's another set of problems because you're shoehorning something that's brand new into something from 1963, so that can create some issues. What is it like when someone comes to you with a vehicle and they've got a vision for it? You've got to figure out how to make that all work on an old vehicle.
Right.
What's it like when you get that solved and you can present to somebody, here is your car, here's your truck?
Oh, it feels great. It feels great, especially when someone has a specific vision. Being able to make that vision come to life is really rewarding.
If someone wants a restoration or a build, why should they come to RS Restorations? Why should they trust you?
Well, one, I think our work stands alone. Our tagline is class and classic rides, so we try to make sure that whenever the project is finished that the customer feels really good about what they have. Another thing that sets me apart, I think, from a lot of other builders is that I communicate all the time. Every little thing that we run into, if we run into a problem, they know what's going on. And I've had a lot of feedback that customers really enjoy that, because some shops, they deliver their car and they don't see it again for 3-4 months. My customers know what's going on all the time.
I think your story is really interesting, and it shows where your passion came from. How did this all begin?
Yeah, so I've been messing with cars for about 30 years from a young kid. And a couple years ago, I had a desk job that I just decided I didn't want to do anymore. So I decided to pursue my passion and see where that would lead, and I think the work that we've done so far speaks for itself.
I think your passion is definitely reflected in your work. rsrbuilds.com is the place you want to go to find builds like this, things they can do for your car, customize it. They can build the vehicle of your dreams. We'll be right back with more Motorhead Garage presented by DragonFireTools.com. So keep it locked here.
Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonFireTools.com, is brought to you by Amsoil, the first in synthetics, Shade Wagon, throw some shade, and by DragonFireTools.com, industrial workbenches with integrated tool storage.
Motorhead Garage is presented by DragonFireTools.com, and we are glad you're here. If you drive a big diesel truck like this, chances are you're looking for better performance, maybe better efficiency, or just good looks for your truck. Well, we've got something for you. You know, by the way, everybody, every time you look online, Tyson, everybody's talking about that elusive 1,000 horsepower mark. and you don't know if they're really doing it, and you don't know who to believe. You're kind of new to the business at Point Blank Performance, so can you make 1,000 horsepower, and why should I believe you?
That was the word on the street, and still the word on the street, right? Like, does your truck make 1,000 horsepower because it's a casual Tuesday, right? And we have a couple trucks that make 1,000 horsepower Dodges, and then we also have an L5P platform. And the first thing we wanted to do is prove it. And then on our YouTube channel, that's what we do. So every Friday we come to you guys, and then we're bringing it to you. And then on the table, we got a bunch of parts that if you guys want to build with Point Blank, we want you to be part of the team.
Well, let's talk about this valve cover here. This thing jumps out at me. It's beautiful. Is it just for looks, and why do I need one of these?
So to be straightforward, you're going to have a lot of guys right out the gate. They're going to shows. It's a show truck. They want that piece of real estate on their truck because they're going to powder coat it or run it billet. Awesome, I want you to. But then my next guy, it's a guy that's going to go for that 1,000 horsepower. What about 1,500? What about 3,000 horsepower? These valve covers are for those trucks. Got the dash 12 ports, that way we can let it breathe. We got the bottom all opened up. You can see all the fancy CNC work. We've got a VF3 that cuts this guy. This is made from one single piece of CNC billet aluminum. The purpose is the thing, so you can make billet as light as you want, right? But when you bolt this down, does it warp? Is it gonna warp over time? What's the workmanship behind it? Did you cut it for speed, or did you cut it to deliver to someone a product that I'm glad I'm building with you guys? That's my goal. So, and then to top it all off, you know, any of the guys, if you're running a valve cover, what are you gonna be putting it on? Are you gonna put it on the stock rocker box, or are you gonna put it on a billet rocker box, right? Because you can run the stock one, it's cool, it's made out of cast. If you're gonna win best of show, let's win best of show.
Let's look at that rocker box.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what thought goes into that? What are some of the considerations you take when you're designing?
So this whole piece, the biggest thing is this, no leaks, right? Like, hands down, could be an awesome product, but if it leaks, it's junk, right? I'm the same mindset. Like, if it doesn't work, it's junk. The bottom, we sent it off to have the O-ring scan, so it uses your factory O-ring on your truck. So you literally bolt it on. But if you're the guy, you got the bigger head studs. Why would you run head studs? Because you're making big power. You gotta have a rocker box on there with this little notch in it. Cool story. But then we go in and we make all these provisions down here by the lifters and the rockers to get more oil down to, if you own a 5th gen, the hydraulic lifters. They're prone to fail. So we want to keep them lubricated.
And the reason behind all of that is because these things move and they shake, and it's very violent under there.
Very violent.
Which leads us to the next part here.
What is it? Our upper radiator for the 4th and 5th gen Dodge Cummins. So any guys got a 13 to 25 Ram, this is 304 stainless steel, and in our VF5 machine, we go in and we cut this from 304 stainless steel. So from the smallest part, we want you to have something you're proud of, and that's what this covers.
Beautiful. Now we're looking a little more into the higher performance stuff.
Yeah.
Clamps and ferrules when you're talking turbocharging.
Yep. Well, we have a ferrule with 4 O-rings, so 2 on one side, 2 on the other side, put a sleeve over it, and then we top it all off with our billet clamp. These are all available in 3 and 3.5. So that way, if you're looking for, hey, good power, 3. If you're looking for big power, let's make it 3.5.
Why is a heavy-duty clamp so important in a turbo diesel?
Heavy-duty clamp, and ours bolts together, right? There's no pushing a button, anything comes apart, something like that. When you're leaning on it 5,000 RPMs, the engine goes to torque over, guess what? You start moving those angles. And if this clamp rotates and slides off an O-ring, 1 PSI could be 30 horsepower.
The next piece,
Yeah.
you told me is a marriage saver.
Yeah.
And
so
tell me why.
this one right here, if you own a 4th or 5th gen Dodge Cummins and you're doing a single turbo kit or you're doing a compound, you're gonna lose something in your truck. It's a problem? Well, guess what? We created a solution with the machines, a remote billet battery bracket. So we went in, we made a plate. This is for the OEM battery. So literally, your battery will slide in here underneath your driver door, and yes, it'll work with all the steps. Bolt this dude up, and we all know we're all electricians. I can run power and ground, like run power and ground to your battery, and guess what? We're back in business.
And you're winning best in show because that's a great looking
You're winning
piece.
best in show, and another thing, again, like I preach powder coat, but hey, if we're gonna do it, let's trick it all out. But if you wanna run raw billet, we engineer that thing to, you know, to win. The biggest thing is a lot of guys will run that, right? Aluminum, you can either run it clear or powder coat it, and then off we go.
All right, that's all fine and good, but what if we want to actually get more power to the truck? That's where we look at these manifolds.
We got to manufacture it, right?
got
We've got to actually turn exhaust gases, which are heat, which are EGTs. We've got to put it through a manifold, send it to a turbocharger. Again, since 2021, we started manufacturing these, testing them. R&D, we've got that. They both make over 1,000 horsepower with your fuel and air setup. T4, T6, so if you're the big guy, you want to go for some big power, T6, daily driver, or 1,000 horsepower, we've done it. You guys have seen it.
Well, after a few years of research and development, these manifolds are finally available to the public from Point Blank Performance. You can find these and everything here and a whole lot more at pointblankperformance.com. We'll be right back with more Motorhead Garage and more great products for your vehicle when we come back.
Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonFireTools.com, coming to you from the Shade Wagon studio.
The timing belt, the direct link between the camshaft and the crankshaft, causing that choreographed dance we all call the 4-stroke cycle. Welcome to this AMSOIL Tech Tip. We're talking about timing belts. Where do we start? Well, right here on our graphic. This is a dual overhead cam engine. So what's going on is you have a camshaft on each bank up there. You see them at the top. Those are the camshaft sprockets. You have an idler pulley up there, and then we come over to an interesting piece there called a water pump. Yes, a water pump can be driven by the timing belt. That's huge because water pumps and timing belts, well, they don't get along. So if you ever have a leak, you want to replace the whole system. Come down through the crankshaft sprocket and then over to the tensioner. Another tech tip for you, that tensioner, well, that's an oil-driven tensioner. So you want to make sure that's in good shape, and you want to make sure you use a great product like AMSOIL when you have oil pressure tensioners to make sure your pressure is going to stay on. I told you a minute ago, you actually have a timing belt driven water pump. So when you're in there, you want to do a timing belt as a set. Just don't replace a timing belt. Go ahead and replace the water pump, replace the idler pulley, and replace the tensioner. You're in there, it's a huge job. You might as well knock it all out. Now, if you're going to do that job, you have to know where the actual timing marks are. Look in your service manual. You have different timing marks for different engines, engine configurations. Timing can be difficult, but as long as you mark it up and you get it all right, you're not going to have a problem. As a matter of fact, we did a simple one here. I'll give you a look at it, but please follow your manufacturer's specification. Everyone's a bit different. You can see the crankshaft pulley down there. You have to make sure that mark's lined up, no matter where it is. Then you can take your timing belt. This one actually is water pump driven as well. There's the tensioner, and then you want to take your camshaft and you want to make sure that's lined up as well, no matter where it is. Once we get all that lined up in there, then you can go back and you can tension it. Make sure that you got the right and proper tension on it. Again, follow your service manual information. The most important part of the job is when you're done, make sure you turn that crankshaft by hand, 720 degrees, one whole 4-stroke cycle. Why? To make sure it's in time, because you can bend a valve, you can have a problem. Matter of fact, timing belts cause catastrophic engine damage. You can see this right here. I actually got a hole in the piston lid. That's not good. But lack of lubrication, ooh, that's even worse, man. You guys build an oil that's going to help prevent that.
We build a whole pile of oils that'll help that, actually. Catastrophic damage will occur almost instantly if you run yourself out of oil or if your oil fails. A lot of times what we'll see, though, is you don't check your oil. The oil tends to run low. That's making a whole lot of work for a small amount of oil, especially with some of these 4-quart sumps.
Yeah, because you got, what, 3 quarts of oil instead of 4 doing the same job.
Right, and so what you need there is quality product. Number one, check your oil. But quality product is key. Really good, strong base oils, the proper amounts of additives, just your general high-quality synthetic, such as the ones that we build.
And not to mention all the actual technology that's built into the engines that's oil-driven. So you know broken timing belts now can cause catastrophic engine damage, and lack of lubrication will. So a good insurance policy is just go to amsoil.com. You know you're getting a proven and tested product where you're not going to have any of these problems.
The PaintedAutoParts.com Motorhead of the Week is Bruce Gibson. Now, like many other people, Bruce got his love for things that go by visiting the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He grew up in Indy, where he'd go to the track first with his parents, then with his friends when he got older. Bruce left Indianapolis when he enlisted in the Marines and later became an officer. He then spent 30 years with the California Highway Patrol, and as a CHP officer, he loved defensive driving and tactical driving, of course, who wouldn't? Later, Bruce became a CHP pilot, spending his days in the seat of a different type of motorized vehicle. Being a motorhead, whenever Bruce got the time off, he'd head to the racetrack, especially to NHRA drag racing events from coast to coast. And it looks like Bruce has a special knack for meeting people, from drivers to the TV crew. Now, his wife, Kari, tells me the crowds and the noise isn't her thing, but she can never say no when Bruce wants her to go to the track. She says that knowing Bruce is having a good time makes it all worthwhile. Kari, thank you for telling us about Bruce. You too can tell us about your favorite Motorhead of the Week. Just send us a note at motorheadgarage.tv and tell us why someone you know should be the PaintedAutoParts.com Motorhead of the Week. We'll be right back with more Motorhead Garage presented by DragonFireTools.com. Don't go anywhere.
Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonFireTools.com. Industrial workbenches with integrated tool storage. And brought to you by PaintedAutoBodyParts.com, the leading U.S. auto body parts online store. Cunningham Automotive, American racing tradition. And by Induction Innovations, home of the original Mini Ductor.
This is Motorhead Garage presented by DragonFireTools.com. And this is a cell phone, of course. We all have them, and you're a motorhead, so I know you love to be in your car. So what do you do with your phone when you're in your car? You've got a lot of options, right? You can put it on the magnet on the dash. That's on your vent. It's going to block your vent in the summertime. That's a bad deal. In the wintertime, it's going to fry your phone. And you can put it in your cup holder. You can put it on your lap. But, of course, you know you're going to drive it. It's going to fall into the crack there, and you'll never see it again. And half of the states, Scott, in the union don't allow you to hold it in your hand anyway, and that's a bad idea. So what's my solution? What can I do?
So you put it in a cell phone seat. Cell phone seat is the newest device in the market. It is a single piece of plastic that's got a flexible base. All you got to do is flex this and pop it in your cup holder and release it. It's going to lock in there, and then guess what? Now you're legally hands-free. You can just drop your phone in there like that. You can also go horizontal. You got power cord access here, and here's the best part. Cell phone seat does not block your cup holder. You still have room for your drink.
Whoa, that is cool. And it's so simple. Why didn't somebody think of this before?
I don't know. It was exactly the same with me. I was driving in my neighborhood in my truck. I threw my phone in my cup holder like most people do, and it landed in some kind of a goo, you know, from my kid's squeeze pack. And I pulled my phone out, and I was kind of annoyed, and I thought, why isn't there a better solution? And kind of this idea popped in my head, and I went home to look for it. You go home and you look online, and I was like, this has to exist. It didn't exist. I couldn't figure out why. So I decided to draw it out, you know, much to my wife's dismay, as she's looking over my shoulder saying, what are you doing? What are you doing? I was like, I got an idea. So I drew it out. I found actually a designer that could do 3D AutoCAD type designs, and we 3D printed them just to test it out. And I got the first one I remember that was 3D printed, and it was huge. It was like this big. And the guy that was kind of helping me with the designs felt bad. He's like, I messed it up, it's too big. I was like, no, send it, let me see it. I need to know if this works. Sure enough, I put the big one in my cup holder. Even though it was giant, it worked perfectly. So we kept going, and as you can see now, we have the final version. It took about 6 years to actually get this just right. But now we have a universal cell phone mount that fits in about 90% of vehicle cup holders, holds pretty much any phone, phones with cases, any type of phone, phones with accessories, pop sockets, loopies, doopies, sloopies, whatever you got. This one simple device is going to work for most everything.
What are some of the little extras you put a lot of thought into to keep the phone in place there?
Sure. So the first thing we did was we cut out these side slots here, and that's going to allow you to put your phone in there horizontal. Interestingly enough, it also works with tablets in that horizontal slot. We put this in my son's cup holder on his car seat, and he can put his iPad in there for long road trips. We put a flexible tab here that's going to put a little pressure on the phone, so it's going to hold phones in there, phones without cases, smaller phones, it's going to hold those in a little bit tighter. And then it also can flex back when you have bigger cases like this. This is an iPhone 14 Pro with a wallet on it. It's going to be able to flex back and hold those in there as well. Those bigger cases with OtterBox cases, it's going to be able to push that tab back and hold that in as well. We have power cord access here, so obviously people want to be able to charge their phone in the car. And I like the fact that this sits in your cup holder. Your power cord is staying down here to the side. A lot of newer cars have those flexible tabs in their cup holders or those rubber kind of squares. So we cut the slots out here to allow those tabs to go right in there, and they work great. It's so fun to put this in when you have those spring-loaded tabs and hear it just click in place like it's meant for it. But that doesn't mean that you need those tabs. It's going to work with cup holders without the tabs or without the rubber things as well. It's going to work in a lot of different cup holder styles as long as they're between about 2.5 to 4 inches and round, which pretty much
most of them are, right?
Most of them are.
You put so much thought into the design. How much thought did you put into the materials that you're using as well?
We talked about doing, different types of plastics. We talked about doing different types of materials like rubber. We landed on ABS plastic, which is the same thing that Legos are made out of. It's a very non-toxic, safe plastic, right? Because kids play with it. And if you've ever stepped on a Lego in the middle of the night, you know how strong ABS plastic is.
Guilty as charged.
This is a very strong, well-made device. It's going to work in extreme heat. It's going to work in, extreme cold. It's a very universal material.
It's a veteran-owned company. The product is made in America, and this is going to make things a lot safer and more convenient for you when you're behind the wheel. It is called the Cell Phone Seat. You can find it at cellphoneseat.com. We have hit the finish line for this edition of Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonFireTools.com. We'll do it again next week, same time, same sandbox, and streaming just about everywhere. Thanks for tuning in. Drive safely.